go.
Welcome to THRIVEcast, your voice for social and emotional wellness. With us today is Oscar Maldonado, a lead youth support partner for San Diego Youth Services, THE Academy. THE stands for Transitional Age Youth. Oscar, how are you?
Pretty good. How are you guys?
Good. Very good.
Very happy to have you in studio with us.
Yeah, cool.
So, Oscar, can you kind of start off and tell us how you got into this work? You know, tell us your story.
Yeah.
What led you here?
Well, it started as it started with the reason I became who I am now, or the reason I chose this field is because of kind of like where I started. Since I was in the foster care system and ended up homeless, I think that I didn't receive as much as support as I wanted or I needed, and I wanted to be able to be the helping hand for other youth that were in need of help, and I wanted to be that hope for them.
So. And we'll get into a lot more of kind of how you got here, but let's first, San Diego Youth Services THE Academy. Tell us about the organization.
It's San Diego Youth Services in general. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's like they saw me grow. They helped me so much to achieve my goals and to believe in myself and to trust what I was doing. And, they in general, like, changed my life, basically. So I can't stop saying that I owe so much to them because, like, they really did a lot for me when I really didn't have anybody. They kind of became my family and, supported me in every decision I made when I was sick, when I was hungry, when I had my teeth taken out. It was like they were there for me. So they, in general, they're a great organization, and the staff there made it so comfortable that I can actually call my family. Be like, hey, I feel you're part of my family.
Yeah. So the THE Academy is a pretty new program through San Diego Youth Services. Tell us a little bit about what the THE Academy is and what is your role in the THE Academy.
So, THE Academy is pretty new. I was actually in the planning process for THE Academy. So when THE Academy didn't exist in people's mind, we, a group of youth, got together and said, we want to create something different, want to create something new, and started brainstorming ideas, and started thinking, we should try to fill the gap that's closed for youth that get out of the foster care system and no longer have resources, or end up homeless and don't have all the resources for that. So we started thinking of that, and it all came down to like pictures, papers, words, and probably months later, or probably a year later, it actually became real, and it's done in paper and kind of like on a contract, and it was right
county
there.
Funding, all that kind of stuff.
So we started then. I said, I at that time I was really involved, and I was like, I really want this. I dreamed about it. I wanted it really bad. So me and the division director and the CEO, we went to the presentation to get the funding, and I think that one of the reasons was that they were really impressed by having a youth go and present and be like, this is some of the reasons like this should come true and this should become a live thing, and we got the funding. So after that, it just took like months for THE Academy to be created, like actually start taking staff and all that. And then I interviewed for a position, and because I really wanted it, so I just got it, and I already knew what I was doing. I already knew what I had to do. It's like something just happened naturally, and I'm gonna help, and I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna do that, and like it was just naturally I did whatever I had to do.
And you're a youth support partner
yes.
at the THE Academy? And what kind of services does the THE Academy offer youth? And how do can any youth come there?
Yes. So any youth is welcome. What what it does is we're a resource center. So it's for youth 14 to 25 that have been in the foster care system, probation. If you've never experienced any kind of relationship with a foster care system or anything like that, you're still welcome. You can come and hang out. If you need extra support, like if you need resources for housing, you need referrals for something, you need like to get your birth certificate, social, or anything like that, we do all that. So we're kind of like the hub of all, so we like do everything.
Yeah.
So
Youth change agents.
And where is the center located?
We have 4 locations.
Okay.
It's we have one in South Bay, so it's down in Palomar. We have 2 in Oceanside for the YMCA, and then we have our SDYS one that it's in Golden Hill. It's 2020 Broadway, so it's like right where City College is.
Okay.
Close to City College.
Beautiful. And as your role as a support partner, what do you define your role as?
I do a lot of things, so
Right.
it's like it's really like in general I just want to be that person that a youth can count on. I want to be able to transmit the care that I really care about them. I want to be able to say, I want to help you, and I'm going to help you, and we're going to work together on whatever issue you're going through, and we're going to come out the other way and be like, we did it, and try to change them in like their own kind of way, trying to help them find what they really want. I do like individual, like I talk to them like individually, and meet with them, like follow their vision plan, and kind of like help them understand like what do they have to do in order to like maintain their housing or meet their community service requirements and all that. So whatever they're working on, I kind of do all that.
And again, for those in the audience, TAY is transitional age youth,
Yeah.
foster system involved. And so as they age out, this is kind of to provide resources and actual support people, almost as an advocate.
Yes.
It also sounds like a vision plan, right? So when you say a vision plan, I think that's beautiful. But for those people that don't know, what does a vision plan look like?
But real quickly, I just wanted to say here in San Diego County, we've adopted transitional age youth as mainly foster care, but transitional age youth is
In general.
any youth that's yeah.
Well, thank you for the clarification.
No worries,
Yeah.
no worries.
I just know foster care tends to be very prevalent in that paradigm. But vision planning, I think that's beautiful because you're looking towards your vision, right? So
Yes.
what does a vision plan look like?
So we usually we want it to be innovative. We are innovative. So one of the things is that we usually we have the case management and all that it's always the same thing. And I think like many of our youth are kind of, when we were sitting in the panel, our youth were kind of tired of having a case manager. They don't they're not cases that want to be managed.
Right.
They don't want to be treated as a number. They don't want to get all these paperwork and fill this, and or just a social worker telling me, hey, you have to do this, you have to do this,
Right.
you have to go there, and that's it. We met 30 minutes, you're gone, bye. I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Or I'll see you next week.
Right.
So we want it to be different. So instead of focusing on their goals, because a lot of case managers focus, what's your goal? Like, what's your goal? So anybody can have a goal. But if you have a goal, and let's say my goal is losing weight, I can't have that goal because I have a goal that I want to lose weight, but if I don't really realize why do I want to do it, like it's like I have to own it and kind of say, unpack why I want to do that. So what we do is with our youth, they create their vision plan, and it usually starts like, oh, well, my goal is to get housing. Let's look at that.
Right.
So what
are the steps to get you there, and how are you going to maintain it
Yes.
after you get it?
Yes. So instead of focusing on the goal, we focus on packing it and seeing how it's gonna work.
Yeah,
and how we're gonna work towards that.
I love it because that's really what it comes down to. Is it's more than just here's the goal, here's what I want to do, because you can easily obtain it. You know what I mean? But now, how are you going to sustain it? How are you going to keep that going? How are you going to... You don't realize, having a house doesn't just mean you have a house.
Yeah.
You got an electricity bill now.
Yeah.
If you want cable, that's a whole nother bill that you got to add in there. You
Yeah.
got all these things that you got to add up, and it piles up. I remember at 19 years old when I had my first pad, and I was the bachelor pad. I was only responsible for like $600 out of everything. And I was like, oh my God, like, mommy? Like...
Yeah, I never had that. I just was on my own, right out of school. So
but you just want to like.
No, you're right. You're like, I didn't know all this little nickel and dime stuff was part of the package.
Yeah.
I just thought you did.
My 8-year-old this morning told me, he's like, I can't wait to grow up. I'm like, yes, you can, dude. Trust me, yes, you can.
Right. I remember like in college, we'd be like, we have to pay the water bill.
Yeah.
I thought you just got that with the house, right?
And we're from the Midwest, so we're like, well water.
Right. Right. It's just, but you're right. So and a lot of times, I think as a social worker, I think you're right. We come at the whole case management model. To me, is stigmatizing. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times it's because the way block grants are structured, or just the system has kind of functioned. Yeah. And the change now is having people that have experienced it, have lived it, or are part of the cultures that are impacted, and then have them be the catalyst for change through the way that they did it. And that's a lot more impactful than just sitting there like a number, filling out paperwork. And at the end of the day, it sounds like using the skills that like you did, because we're going to get into your story, it's a way to translate it to others to say, well, here's some things I did, here's some things some other people did, and to collaborate on seeing the vision forward, as opposed to a very specific goal-oriented plan, because life's not always it doesn't happen that way.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much, I would imagine, the vision, and it's less stigmatizing.
Yes.
So when you tell a youth that you're going to do a vision plan, how do they react?
They're like, what is that?
Right.
So they're not
because they haven't been accustomed to that.
We also like on that thing is that we don't have case managers. We don't do case management. We have connection coaches. So that's a whole different thing. That I get a what? I get a connection coach? I get a coach? Whoa, a coach. No social worker? No case manager? I'm like, no, you get a connection coach.
That's beautiful.
And now what's the role of a connection coach?
So the connection coach works with them on more individually, like if they, for example, need assistance in getting to school and how to budget and all that kind of stuff that like need support, like paying bills and all that. So that's kind of like the connection coaches are there, and they're kind of more of a intense like person to work with. So they're they work more in depth with them and more kind of thing like that.
That's awesome. So Oscar, we talked early how you got here. So tell us kind of how this journey began and how you found the passion to inspire other youth and to be a lead support partner.
So one of the things is that the reason I started is because being in the foster care system and going through all those changes that my life went through and difficult moments, it became kind of like, so let me start how my story goes. So I was 8 years old when I was in the foster care system. I turned 16 and I was adopted by my aunt. After I was adopted, everything was perfect. I really liked them. They were awesome. Once we signed the paperwork, things changed and things went out of control. And I think that they forgot they were human, I guess, and they forgot that we had feelings. So one of the things is that
so instead of actually caring for you, they kind of just looked at you and your other siblings as
a commodity,
a commodity, a dollar.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they would put us down. They would do so many things that we had our own room, and then from having our own room, they took us out to the like garage to sleep there, to take a shower there. We couldn't take a shower in the bathrooms. Eventually, things started getting like more like hard, and like they wouldn't feed us. Sometimes we would go to sleep without eating, and sometimes it was really hard because when they would leave, they would actually put us outside. So we had to wait for them while they were like
dogs.
Their family outing kind of thing.
It's like segregation.
Yeah, and if we were in there, it was kind of like really difficult. So sometimes I felt like I was like Cinderella. I had to be cleaning the floors and be like, and I remember myself, really actually on the floor, like mopping it and scrubbing it.
So you felt like a burden, kind of like you didn't belong in a way.
Right. Well, and I would also think it's like you were second class compared to the rest of everyone else that got to be in the house, got to use the shower,
Yes. They would mark the food and, the milk, the water, whatever it was, it had a mark on it. And it would say, it's right here. If we come back and it's not there, who drank it? Who, like, what happened? It's
now, why didn't you speak? This is something we didn't talk about in the pre-interview, but why didn't you speak up at that time? Like, did you feel like you couldn't, or like?
I tried once, but when I tried, it was really scary because, my social worker actually went down and went to take a look and talk to me, but before they came, I was really young, and I really didn't know.
Yeah, of course.
I didn't really know San Diego. I didn't really know, like, what was around. I didn't know, like, how to get to places.
Yeah.
I was new to all this because I would move from L.A. to, like, different parts, and I was kind of tired of that. So when I spoke up and I said, this is not fair. Why is this happening? She told me, if you talk, I promise you that you will not leave this house alive, and that if you do, you'll get sent to Canada or somewhere really far where the snow is, and you're not going to see your family ever again.
Painted this horrid picture.
Intimidation and the threat of retribution was what prevented you from really speaking up.
So I freaked out, and I just said, wow, like, something that was really hard for me was, my sister, she was actually brave enough to say, F this, I'm speaking up.
Yeah.
And
younger sister?
Yeah, she's like 2 years younger than me.
Okay.
She actually spoke up and she said, this is not fair. When my social worker got there, she's like, they hit me, they do this to me, they treat me like this. And we had already had that conversation. She wasn't scared.
Right.
She was brave, and I had to sit there and lie to the social worker and said, when the social worker asked me in front of her, do they hit her? Do they leave her starving? I had to say no. And it was the most difficult thing for me to do, to look at her, how
brave she was in the
moment. And how she was broken to see me like lie to her. She was like, why are you doing this? Like,
at the same time, you're broken too, and you're fearful. You have what you feel is like, this is my family. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, and your aunt's telling you if you say anything, you're gonna get hurt, or something bad's gonna happen to you, or you're gonna go move all over the world again, and you're not gonna have a steady place. And you got all that running through your mind. You got the CPS worker or the social worker right there, and you're just like, boom. Yeah. Like, what am I supposed to do? Yeah. And at the same time, you were like 16 years old when this is all happening.
And and I really didn't like think about, like, I was like, where are you gonna go? We're supposed to stay together. I was the oldest one, and I kind of took the role of the dad. So
right.
I'm kind of like the one that you need to stay on track, and you need to do this, and hey, let's get the work done. You need, like, I would always say, you need help, ask for it. I'll help you. And I was really afraid, but our family is going to be broken because that's all we had.
Yeah.
It was us three. And she was brave enough to separate from us, and I was like, hey, I really need you. And she's like, we were really young, and she's like, this is not fair, I can't do this. And I said, I love you, and I just had to lie.
Yeah.
That had to be so emotionally tough.
And still is,
Yeah.
and it's like,
Are you guys still close today?
yes, we're like super close.
Right. And you guys are all out of the system now?
She's still in the foster care system. She's in the extended foster care.
Okay.
And then my brother, he's in jail.
Okay.
So yeah, but
That's tough.
And you're the oldest out of
yes,
the family? Okay.
And it's funny though, because I've worked with other foster care kids, and to hear the story about the garage, like that's so prevalent. It seems I don't know why when you said
horrific.
that, I'm like you hear similar themes over and over again. I also think it's ironic that they are marking the milk, right?
Yeah.
You hear about families doing it for the liquor to keep their kids away from the liquor, but you need nutrition.
No, I had a family friend that she would do infants. That's what she would want, the infants, because you get more money for the infants and stuff. And I was really young, so I didn't really understand all this. But she would always tell me, like, I'm going to teach you how to make money when you're older. And, you get $10,000 off all these kids and all this kind of different stuff. And it's like when you would go, even me as just a guest in the house, when you would go to make a sandwich, it's like, no, only use one piece of this and one piece of that. That shit's got to last us for 2 months. Like, whoa, wait a minute. Like, wait a minute. Are you talking about all this money you're making off of all these kids? Like, isn't that money you should be buying food with? Like this bologna needs to last me 2 months? Like, ugh.
Yeah, it's funny you mention that, because I talked to an unaccompanied youth. She's 19. And one of the things she said is, people always say, well, these people keep having babies to have money.
Yeah.
And when she said it kind of shocked me, the way that she said it. And she says exactly what you said. It's been taught.
Yeah.
They don't know that there's other opportunities out, so they do what they know. And until that understanding, or there's education, or helping them learn something different, that cycle keeps going. I've never heard it from that perspective. We always say it from another perspective.
Yeah.
Oh, well, they're generational poverty. Well, what this girl was saying is that's what you're taught, and if you don't know that you can break from that, then that's what you continue to do.
I've even heard, because they had like little gossip thing where all the little foster moms would get together and have tea or whatever they do.
they actually
right?
get together. They all get together in a meeting, and all the foster parents go and meet, because that's. Hey, I saw your ex foster care parent. Oh my god! And so
really,
Yeah.
How does that feel?
So I remember one time there was a lady though that was talking about, for her infants, put what's the thing Heath Ledger killed himself on or overdosed on, the sleeping pills.
Ambien, or
I almost said
Lunesta?
methadone, but it's melatonin.
Melatonin.
Put melatonin in their baby milk so they sleep all day and you don't have to worry about them and shit. And it's like, well, what the fuck? Like,
Wow. I can't take melatonin. I wake up crying. Side note. But so seriously, though, what was that like when you hear about foster parents getting together and kind of powwowing and
Having a
you're
PTA
hearing it
meeting?
Well,
secondhand?
it's like the last foster parent wasn't good enough. Like, they wouldn't treat us like the new one would treat us.
Right.
So it was like balancing out, like, remember, like, because it's kind of like, and I know that a lot of us, like, when we get a new foster parent, we're like, we go and say, we try to build that trust by, like, like, they treated me like this and they talked to me like this. So hoping that that's not going to happen again.
Right.
And we're going to get a good family, and it's going to really care. And I actually, my last foster parent was, like, really amazing.
Right.
Like, they were great, and she would come and always tell me, "Oh, I saw your ex foster parent. She was, like, talking about, like, all these gifts that's coming in Christmas, and she has them stored in her garage." And I'm like, oh wow. So it's like, but I'm gonna get her reported and this and that. So
and that speaks to a big issue. I mean, there are really good foster parents, and then there are others that are not, and we tend to hear a lot of the bad stories. We don't hear enough of the good sometimes, I think. But as far as someone who's been in the system, what are some of the ways that might help kind of weed out the bad and support the good,
or
from
monitor the
Right.
foster parents better. Because I mean, there were situations. It's like, and this is kind of where social workers get the bad rap, because they're more involved in the lives of just like the average Joes than they are in the lives of the foster people.
Well, I would put it in context. A lot of times when you work with these, you have huge caseloads. You have
Forgive me, ladies and gentlemen, for saying foster people. I have
Right.
foster the people in my head.
But I mean, but from an administrative side, you'll have a caseload, and sometimes they're ungodly to manage.
Yeah.
And you have so many reports you have to get. The
Oh, yeah.
paperwork a lot
Extremely.
of times prevents doing the work that we want to do. Most of us got into this field because we either
Wanted to be change agents.
Well, that, or we were in the system at some
Yeah,
point,
yeah.
or we had a loved one that was impacted, or we learned that we wanted to give back to the community. But then you get into these administrative bureaucracies that create paperwork, that create high caseloads. And I could say right now, with the changes happening, people that are kind of middle income, they don't have access to even these services. So there's a disconnect between like Medi-Cal services, and then if you have insurance, there's some service that those families might need, but they can't get. But then in the Medi-Cal system, you have huge caseloads a lot of times. You have a massive administrative burden. I mean, we spend more time documenting than we do with clients a lot of times. And it's not because that's what you want. It's because that's one of the
what you
biggest
got.
issues with the system.
And that's the sad thing, is we've kind of created machine.
Well, yeah, and you hit on that. You're sitting with someone and you're filling out all these paperwork. We've got to justify the grant. We've got to justify the funding for Medi-Cal. We've got to, or for Medicaid. You get so, and that's usually what then breaks that social worker's passion.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one of the issues in general with the system is, I think it would be great to have former foster care do the quality assurance, to talk to those youth, and the social workers would more be the coach and the coordinator, and then you would go out and check for quality assurances because you know what to look for.
Yeah,
right?
that would be perfect, actually, if you have like the social worker that's the connection coach,
Right.
and you're kind of the one that's dealing with the families reporting to that. That would be fantastic.
Well, and
if
then
we
you're
could
doing
do
work. You're doing workforce training because that's skills you can develop, and then you might want to go into that field and go into either policy or actually direct care or whatever you decide. But one of the things with peer support and the peer model is, I always feel like we get to a certain point,
Mm-hmm.
and then, well, what if they don't want to stay in the system? Maybe they are at a point now where they want out, but we've created a job that they have. Now they have income. Now they have bills, a house, and so what's the mechanism up and out? Or if they want to stay there, that's fine too. But there should continue to be kind of a machine where that you find your next replacement. They come into the peer leads, as a peer partner. So that you're always kind of elevating people up and out, but it's always system, from people that have experienced it as the leaders for change, because the kids that are coming to the system now, they're going to have different realities than you had, right? Yes. And so it's continuing to address the changes happening in the system.
And I also think that for our resource center, because we're not a program,
right? Resource center. Right.
For our resource center, all of our youth support partners have. One of the requirements is that you had to have experience, foster care system, probation system, any type of system. You had to have experienced it in order to qualify for the job.
And could somebody 40 years old go to be a coach or go to be a
youth support partner? No. It has to be from ages 18 to 24.
Perfect. Because that's what I wanted to make sure was it's not somebody who was was in the system 30 years ago, and it's like things have evolved so much they're not even going to understand what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's cool that someone, at least current, fresh.
Right.
They have at least the last 5-10 years experience in the system, so it's not totally changed.
Right, but then what happens to that 24-year-old, 25-year-old, 26-year-old, depending on the type of program, as they're not in that demographic? What happens to them?
So, what do you mean?
So like,
if that's the age range for the position, what happens when they age kind of out of that
age?
Yeah.
So, in order to be in that position?
So like, let's say you're a youth support partner. You're 25. You're about to turn 25. You're like, there's a lot of anxiety right there. There's a lot of
where do you go from there, position wise?
He's like, man, I never thought about
No, I'm thinking like as a position or as a.
So they
like a career. Like,
okay.
So basically,
Yeah.
like your job's done. Like,
okay, once somebody turns 24 and they're working this career, so they can become a family support partner.
Okay.
So they become like a different title.
right. Okay.
So,
That was kind of my goal. What's the next kind of step in that process? Because it's not just youth; it's also families.
Yeah.
Right.
So the transition
family
is once you
support
age
project.
out of the youth, then you go to the family side.
Yes.
Okay, beautiful, good. That way our listeners can have a good
They're
understanding.
like, man, I turned 24 and I'm just like, boom, there
Well-
goes my career.
Well, that's what I mean. But I know grants that work like that.
Right. Yeah.
And we have a friend.
Yeah,
We have
yeah.
a friend that aged out of his position and then didn't have really anything to look forward
Well,
to.
he had a couple years after he was supposed to age out that
Yeah,
they got
'cause they-
waivers for him to still
right.
continue, and then it's like, well, now you're like 30.
So that's one of the issues with a block grant is it's a great opportunity, but
Yeah.
then when you get to the age, there's this, what do I do now?
Yeah.
And so you guys have actually planned it out that there's a transition right into family, which means you thought about the problem holistically as you approached it by having people that were involved in the system.
Yes.
That's where you started. Yeah. I want to ask, because you said that you tried several times to run away.
yes.
But it wasn't until the last time. So tell me about that last time where you ran away and you actually went out on the streets.
So, it actually like the last time, I got convinced by. So when I was going to school, I made like some friends, and it was really hard to kind of like try to blend in with everybody to be like a normal
Right.
Yeah.
teenager or normal guy that just wanted to hang out. You
And
know?
at the same time, we're dudes, so we can't really like go and express to our friends like, here's what's going on. You know what I mean? Like
that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Like you can't do that. It's like, and it was just a like automatic thing. It was like, why? At a point, I just wanted somebody to listen to me. I just wanted somebody to talk to.
You had to.
And then, I started making friends, and I think that after a while of a like friendship relationship, I started to understand like how big friendship is. You know, it's like it's amazing. I could actually start feeling like I can trust that person. So I have like two friends. They're still my friends, and he kind of convinced me like to run away. Like he was gonna teach me like this is how you do
it. Yeah,
you know? So I ran away. He's like, you can come to my school. You can go to my school. You don't have to pay for anything. You're just like you'll be good. But then when I left and when we all left, he had to go back to his house.
Yeah.
And I had nowhere to go. So that was like, oh, so what do I do now? It's like I have nowhere to go. So I actually went back to my aunt and uncle, and I said, I have experience like being out in the world, and I liked it.
Yeah.
It was good. And that day, she said, we're gonna talk about this another day. And I said, I'm not gonna get punished. Wait, what's going on? Next day, I couldn't go to school, and then I think my uncle came and he picked me up, and that was like, when I think about it, the last thing I can remember is like him picking me up like a
rag doll.
Yeah, like a rag, and like picking me up and said, "You run away one more time, and I promise you, I'll break your legs, and you will not be able to walk." And I was like, I freaked out. I was like, man, like, so I got hit with a stick, and it had like, like it's those little small sticks that have like the hole punchers. Or
Yeah.
Like it has like those things. So I got hit in my legs with that, and I was screaming, it's bleeding, and he said, yeah, let it bleed. That way you won't be able to run away or whatever.
Yeah. Horrible, man.
And then, after that, he put me up in the roof, because he was building his house with the money he was getting from us. He was building his house bigger and bigger, and he put us up in the roof, and he put me with two hands, like with my two hands, like on my knees, and he put like two bricks in my hands.
Oh my goodness.
And I had to stand there. Like, I had to be there. I couldn't move. I couldn't bend. I couldn't do anything. I had to just, like, sit there for a long time. I passed, like, I, like, fainted, and I got hit, I remember, and he got really scared. He, like, really freaked out, and I rubbed it in his face, and I said, you knew if I die, you know that you are going to pay for it.
Yeah.
I felt so good to just.
You finally got empowered. Yeah.
Empowered, yeah.
You know that I die, you go to jail. You know that. I probably took like a week for me to build my courage and try running away again. And I told my little brother, I'm going to run away. And I just want to tell you that I'm gonna come back for you. Just wait for me, okay? It was like, he said, I don't believe you. Like, you can't run away, you know? So it's like, I ran away, and, I said, I promise you I'm going to be back. And he told me, don't leave me, because they're going to hit me.
Yeah, it'll
like,
be worse
if you
for me.
leave, they're going to hit me. And I said, I'm sorry, I have to go. I can't live here. I have to find something, and I promise you I'll be back. So I ran away, and I made it. It's like, I did it. And it's like, it was like a relief, but when I ended up like thinking about it, I'm like, I don't have school, I don't have a job, I don't have money. All I have is
my freedom.
I have a bag of clothes that, that was everything I had. At that point, I lost connection with everybody, and I really didn't know. Like, there was no way that I could think. It's like, what am I gonna do now? So I ended up. I didn't know San Diego at all. I ended up. Now I went back, and I used to sleep in Chula Vista, where the 7-Eleven is. It's like right in the corner, like probably like around like Broadway over there.
Okay, yeah.
I know,
I was sleeping there, and it was like, something different. It was like, boom, I hit reality. It's like, in my mind, I was like, Oscar, you gotta go back. You don't have money, you don't have food, you're gonna die. It's like something new. It's like, I would see like older people just walking around like with their carts, and be like, how do they do it? What do they do? Like, what's up with that? It's like,
what kept you from, like, because a lot of people, a lot of homeless youth will end up getting involved in drugs and getting involved in prostitution, getting involved in any means necessary to go ahead and survive. What kept you from that?
So one of the things is that I've never in my life done like weed or any kind of drug. Like, I seen him. People had offered it to me, like, "Hey, let's do weed, crystal." I said no, and because that's something that broke my family. One of the reasons that I chose to never touch drugs is because I saw how that destroyed the family I had. Because of drugs, I ended up in the foster care system. I couldn't see my mom. My siblings and I got separated. So I chose and said, I'm never going to try them. I'm not. And there was so many times where people would tell me, it's going to help with the pain.
Yeah.
It's going to help. I promise you, it's going to feel good. Oh, you're going to like it. And I'm like, my mom, she was a crystal addict. And, you know, seeing like who the different person she became, she was no longer like my mom.
Right.
She became a total different person. So I was like, I don't want to go that route. I want to be the example. I want to be able to tell my siblings, tell my family, it is possible as long as you keep your head up and you keep trying and don't lose hope. You know, it is possible. And, you know, that was one of the reasons that I chose not to go that route. I did get offered like drugs and all that, and I was like, you're my friend, or you're really not my friend, because if you're my friend, you shouldn't be offering me this.
And I think, and I love that you say that, because this is more prevalent a story than we see in the community.
Yeah.
We always assume because they're on the streets, drugs, mental illness, but I talk to a lot of youth that are on the streets that have been in systems, and they don't use drugs because of the trauma that they saw it put their entire family through, and that's becoming a very common story. Again, you're going to have all of it, but
you also got youth that, I mean, that you got youth that use that. I saw my mom drinking.
No, you're right.
You know what
you're
I mean?
Right. But there is. And again, I think that's the whole goal of what we do here on THRIVEcast, is to tell all the stories.
Yeah.
And I think that there's such a stigma if you're on the streets. They assume that you're this, that, the other thing. And what you're telling us is, no, I wasn't here because of drugs or mental illness. I was here because my home life was they put bricks in my hands. They you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so they made us sleep in the garage.
Yeah.
Right? But that's, when people drive by, give change a lot, they're not hearing that story. They're making assumptions. Yes. And I think it takes
he's probably
courage.
going to take that $1 and go get a beer.
Right, whatever, right. And it takes courage to tell your story, one, because of the trauma scars that you're exposing, but two, that the advocacy that you're giving is, it's not what everyone assumes.
Exactly.
How I got here. You know, or the things that I'm doing while I'm out here are not the things. The first thing you said is, why does that person have the cart? How are they surviving? What do I need to do? Because, as you said, I'm going to die out here if I don't figure this out.
Yeah.
So how did you start to talk to other people in the streets?
What happened is that this is like, I didn't want to, and not to say that it's bad, but, you know, it's like some older people that are on the streets, everybody has their issues, and everybody has their problems and whatnot. But there's also some people that, you know, are there because they want to be there. But they could change. You know, they can change their life if they really wanted it. And I said to myself, I don't want to be like that. I don't want to, like, be old and
Your life on the streets for the next 20 years.
I deserve
right?
more. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Beautiful.
I want something different. I didn't know what it was. I just knew it was something different. I wanted to go to school, and it was like I have to, like, it's this. I want something different, and that's like, in my every day I would like talk and say, you know, I'm going for something greater, and I still don't know what it is, but I'll find it, and I'm not gonna stop. And one of the things that made me stronger every time is to be the role model for my siblings, and to really be the older sibling that takes care of them, like the dad. Because we didn't have a dad that was there for us. We didn't have that. So it was like he was never in our life. So I kind of took that role. I took the role of the mom. I took the role of the dad. I took the role of brother. I took the role of friend. Any role that was out there, I had to take it, because it was like,
you're the older one. They look up to you. You're the role model.
You're the leader. Yeah.
So I had to, like, say, hey, you know, it is possible. Let's work together. We can do it. I couldn't like cry or see me weak. Because they were gonna lose every hope they had. So I had to be like strong.
So what did you do to get off the streets? Or what did you do to get back to school? What did you do to get back into that?
Well, I was actually when I was staying in Chula Vista, like on the 7-Eleven, lady came by. It was like 1:00 and it was raining, and it was like it was really late. She passed by. I think she was going into the 7-Eleven, and she asked me, have I eaten something? Or in my mind, I was like, my family didn't care. Like, why do you care? It's like, and a lot of
didn't know how to react. Yeah.
Yeah, and to be honest, I didn't have my pants ripped or my shirt ripped, and a lot of times people think homeless youth and think that he has his clothes ripped. He has to have his clothes ripped and dirty and all that. It was like no, like there's a lot of things that you can do to stay clean and to hygiene yourself and all that. And a lot of people say, oh, homeless youth, he must be really dirty. And no. So she came by and she asked me what was I doing out there, and I was like, nothing. I'm just here, and and I didn't want to give information. I was like, who is
this?
Why you want to know?
She's gonna take me back to my house where right.
I actually tried getting back into the foster care system because I had already got adopted, but they wouldn't take me in. They said that I was
a flight risk.
Yeah, I was too old, and my excuse wasn't enough to qualify for the foster care system, because I was already in the age limit or something like that. So they were like, so we can't take you back. Mm-hmm. They denied it, and I tried going into Polinsky, and they actually told me to leave. So that's one thing.
So messed up because most kids are trying to get out of it.
Yeah, you don't even want to be in Polinsky, and then for a kid to actually have the courage, the balls, the to go there and say I need to be somewhere, and then tell you no, that's horrible.
It's also the way the rules are. I mean, when we look at these things, policy is one of the biggest culprits on all sides.
If that social worker, if it was one of her nieces or nephews, I'm pretty sure she would.
No, I know. But what I'm saying is that when you get into criteria of eligibility, it's a policy that's defining that. Policy is usually written from a top-down approach, and so it doesn't make those accommodations a lot of times. The other issue is there a bed? I mean, that's a whole other issue. I can talk about that. Is we do all this stabilizing, and then we can't even find stable placement to get people into.
Did you end up hitting up Storefront?
Yes. So the lady actually gave me a number for Storefront.
Oh, sick.
She said she gave me like $1 and some change, and she said to buy me something like a sandwich. And she told me call 211 and ask to give you the number for Storefront. They get to ask for a different number. She told me to go to a different program and then to ask for if Storefront. So the other program was full. So then they referred me to Storefront, and I guess they picked up, and I did the intake over the phone. And it was pretty, I was in Chula Vista. That's like...
Oh, yeah, in Hillcrest.
Yeah. So I was yeah.
And you're not really familiar with the areas.
Yeah. You just know it's not Canada.
Yeah. So I was like, well, I don't know how to get there because I'm kind of new. And she's like, well, you do qualify. So we're going to take you in. I said, so where am I going? And she gave me the address, and I said, well, I don't have a ride. I don't have money. I don't have anything. Should I just get a taxi and you guys can pay it? She said, actually, we have a connection with, I don't know what. So a police cop came and he drove me all the way over there. He sat me in the back seat, obviously, and I was pretty freaked out. I was like, am I going to jail?
Yeah, where did I call?
Yeah,
But at least you have a place to
Yeah,
go.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the other thing.
And
right.
and I one of the things I said is like, the police officer was actually having a conversation, and he one of the things that it was really like funny. He's like, so what kind of music do you like? And while we were driving, and I'm like, I don't know right now. Like,
Right.
I don't even know what I'm doing. You know, it's like.
And he's trying to make you calm and relax and do whatever he can do to calm you down, right?
So we had a little hard time finding the place. Then we were like, man, so let's call again. So we called again, and they came out, and the first thing, the first thing I remember is like, they didn't ask me anything. Just they asked me, hey, do you, are you hungry?
Mm.
And I said, heck yeah, I'm hungry. I'm really hungry. So the first thing I did was eat. They showed me my bed. They said, this is going to be your bed. This is your blanket. You can go take a shower. Here's clean clothes. We'll take that clothes and wash it, and we'll see you tomorrow. Or do you want to do an intake paperwork right now? I'm like, let's do it right now.
Have a choice?
Yeah. But still, that's great. Determination, dignity, respect.
Yes.
What do you want? You probably hadn't heard that in some time.
Yeah.
Now, Oscar, what led you to be an advocate for homeless youth today? Like, you're doing work with the coalition, the California Coalition for Youth. You do your work with the THE Academy. When most people would be like, I'm going to forget about this life and move on, what keeps you going? What keeps you involved? What makes you want to be a voice for youth?
I want to be the change. I want to be able to make a change. I want to help those youth that are disconnected and get them back connected to any resources, to anything they might need. Yeah. I want to be able to be the support. I want to be able to be the person they can talk to, the person that's going to listen to them, and that's going to acknowledge what's going on and be like, I feel you. I know it's hard, and I know it is. And, you know, it's like I want to be able to make a change and try to help them and understand that things get better if we try and keep our head up and keep trying. If you fail one time, try again. Yeah. If you fail one time, keep trying. I don't know how many times it took me to get out of that house, but you know,
never gave up.
I didn't give up, and I did it. And you know, it's like I want things to change. I want to make our system a little bit more different than it has the structure of it. So I want to be able to like change it.
Hearing your story is so powerful. I mean and it's a story that I think needs to be more prevalent, and I love that you joined us. And
truly appreciate it.
Yeah, and one of the things you said is that drugs, you know, if you're on the streets, it's a cure for the pain. But it sounds like, you know, being a youth support partner empowered you to go out there and be the cure for the pain, you know, for those out there struggling. That's what I come away with it from this interview. I think it's beautiful. I mean, how do you feel about that?
That's great.
Maybe that's good advertising, you know. Peer support leadership, youth support partners, you know, a cure for the pain.
Yeah.
You know, don't do drugs. I mean, seriously, I think that's what's going to change our systems is from where you're at out, not top down, right? That's the cure for the pain.
Eventually, I want to become a social worker and be a county social worker, so I want to be able to change our system a little bit and kind of like focus more on the need level rather than the goal level. And be able to have that mutual connection where I can understand you and I feel you. I feel you. You know, it's like I know what you're going through, and you know, be able to like spread that amongst the other social workers and be like, you know, we should be working on something different. We should be working on a different. You want to work on goals? You work on goals, but let's work with them on a different level. Mm-hmm. Let's work with them on a different strategy. Let's find something different that they haven't heard, because they've heard what we tell them, they've heard it like a million times. They're
But
tired.
who's
of it.
asking what they want?
Well, and I so much of that is so true, and I think the stigma is the way that we keep using same terms, and it's weird because somebody will come out and call it something different. It's really the same thing at the end of the day, but it's the way they're approaching it. They're making it client centered, and then again making that self determination. So again, I think this is the system change that we're seeing. Coaches, not therapists, right? Let's get away from the term mental health and mental illness and behavioral health and bipolar and major depressive disorder, and we call it social and emotional well-being. You know,
And speaking to that, that's kind of exactly to the reason why I didn't really want to go to school to become a psychologist or anything like that, because I didn't want to diagnose people. I didn't want to be trained to diagnose people. I wanted to be able to help people go, forward thinking instead of thinking about the past. Let's go forward.
Why label somebody? It's like you if you label somebody, they're gonna believe it and they're gonna live with it and thinking that that's what they are when they're not.
Thank you.
There's something much better than that.
Yeah.
There's something that I don't even know. It's like you don't even know, but you're more than that. It's like if somebody puts a label on you, and believe me, I've got so many labels, and I said, F this, I am not that.
Right. And this is where my head goes all the time, because I'll be in a facility and I'll meet with a client and they'll be like, yeah, I've got this diagnosis and that diagnosis, and I go, okay, but I don't care about your diagnosis, right? And you're right. We are conditioned to think that psychology, therapy, counseling, etc. is about diagnosing. The diagnosing is driven by that's how we get paid, right? If we change the mechanisms of how we get paid, and that's one of the problems, is everything is based on a reimbursement system based on the medical model. There's nothing wrong with the medical model, but in behavioral health and in social services, that's how we get paid, because we diagnose, we operationally define this illness, service need, etc. But we come from a different perspective. Now we're talking wellness and recovery, self-determination, empowerment, resilience, right? That's really, we know works, but you don't get paid when you call it those things because it doesn't meet this DSM-5 or 4 diagnosis that you get paid for. Yeah. And so that's, I think, the thing that we're seeing in social and emotional wellness, but the system we call behavioral health is we want to have the Oscars of the world. We want to have the Stewarts. We want to have the Nathans. All of us that don't see diagnosis, it's good to acknowledge it, know that there might be some things that we need to treat, but we're not going to focus on that. We're going to focus on getting you socially and emotionally well. And if we do that, you're going to contribute to society. You're going to make an impact. You're going to change your system cycles. Yes. Your brothers and sisters now have someone to look to as their leader, as their father, as their guru of, I can get out of this system, just like he did. That's where I hope this is where the system is going. It feels like it's going there. We tell these stories a lot here on THRIVEcast. They don't in the media, right? Yeah. So on that note, what do you want to leave us with? Because I know you have a fundraiser to get to, actually.
Yeah. I think Tay Academy, when we helped create Tay Academy, I kind of came up with our our small mission statement aside from so visualize success, follow your dreams.
Yeah.
Visualize success, follow your dreams.
Hey, Oscar, thank you so much for joining us here today. Thank you for taking the time out of your work in order to come join us here on THRIVEcast. I hope our listeners got as much from you as I did. You're an extremely powerful person, man. You got a lot of energy to you.
Thank you.
You're a great voice for our youth. I really would love to have you come back on again, especially if we could talk about stigma, labels, and all that kind of stuff.
I would like to have your team come on.
Oh, man.
In a room. Seriously, when we get this broadcast host, that would be bad. That would be so badass, because then we can get it full circle from different stories with the same initiative. Great. I think that would be that's going to be our next interview, bro.
And we will see you next Friday for sure.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Hey, thank you, Oscar. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day.